Okay, so for centuries, right, the image of a surgeon, it's someone with a scalpel, focused, maybe standing for hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Intense focus, incredible skill, but physically demanding.
But imagine this. The surgeon's sitting down, comfortable, looking into a screen, and their hands are controlling these tiny instruments inside the body. Perfect 3D view, magnified, no hand tremor at all.
That's robotic surgery. It sounds, well, futuristic, like something out of a movie.
Totally. But it's very real, a major part of modern medicine now.
Mm-hmm.
So today, we're doing a deep dive. We've got articles, research, our notes. We're going to trace this whole thing.
From the very beginning.
Yeah, where did it come from? What is it exactly? How does it impact people, surgeons, hospitals, and, where's it all going? Plus the ethical side, which is huge.
It's huge, and it's fascinating because it's not just about adding machines. It's really a fundamental shift. It changes how we even think about surgery, about skill.
Right.
The backstory is, well, it's richer and maybe stranger than you might think.
Okay, let's unpack that. Where did this idea come from? Because, it feels so high-tech, so recent.
You'd think so.
But the very first inklings, they're actually in science fiction. I mean, the word robot itself. From a Czech play in 1921, Rossum's Universal Robots, it just meant labor.
Huh, I didn't realize it was that specific play.
Yeah, and then, get this. Robert Heinlein, 1942, in his story Waldo, he describes remote manipulators doing brain surgery.
Wow, 1942, that's pretty incredible foresight.
Isn't it? But the actual push, the real-world drive, that came from somewhere else entirely.
The military in space.
Exactly. DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and NASA, back in the 70s and 80s.
Right, they were both looking at telesurgery, remote operations.
Yeah, for different reasons, but kind of parallel. DARPA wanted, immediate help for soldiers on the battlefield. The golden minute, they called it. Much faster than the usual golden hour to get to a hospital.
Saving lives right there, basically.
Basically. And NASA. They were thinking about astronauts, long missions, deep space. What happens if someone needs surgery? Way out there.
Makes sense. You can't just fly them back.
Right. So it's kind of amazing, isn't it? This tech born from thinking about, battlefields in space.
Yeah, these really extreme, hostile environments.
Ends up revolutionizing surgery right here, on site, in a nice controlled operating room, making minimally invasive procedures even better.
It's a classic case of innovation finding unexpected applications. And it wasn't just concepts. Things started happening pretty quickly.
Like actual robots.
Well, early ones. Take James McEwen's Archrobot in 1983. It helped in orthopedic surgery, moving a patient's leg using voice commands. Simple, but a start.
Voice commands in 83.
Okay. Then, 1985, the PUMA 560 robot. It did a CT-guided brain biopsy. That was a big step. Showed how machines could give you that pinpoint accuracy, getting rid of the natural human tremor. Super important for neurosurgery.
Yeah, you definitely don't want tremor there.
Definitely not. And researchers in the UK developed the ProBot for prostate surgery, focusing on making it small, accurate. And importantly, the work at Stanford Research Institute, funded by DARPA and NASA, that early telesurgery system, that became the basis for intuitive surgical.
Ah, the Da Vinci folks.
The Da Vinci folks. And you can't talk about the early days without mentioning the Lindbergh operation.
Oh, yeah, 2001. That was a huge deal.
Huge. Dr. Jacques Marescot in New York, operating on a patient in Strasbourg, France. Gallbladder removal, transatlantic.
Just proving it could be done, even if most robotic surgery today isn't remote like that.
Exactly. It proved the concept. But initially, the medical world was cautious. They saw it mainly for really specific, tricky stuff, urology, gynecology, where that extra precision was a clear win.
Not like an everyday replacement for everything.
Not at first, no. More like a high-tech specialist tool.
Okay, so let's jump to now. Let's go inside the OR. What does a system like the Da Vinci, which is, let's face it, the one most people have heard of?
It's the dominant player, yeah. Over 17 million operations, thousands of systems out there.
What are the actual parts? What does the surgeon use?
Okay, so typically three main components. First, the surgeon's console. This is where the surgeon actually sits, usually a few feet away from the patient.
Right, not scrubbed in right next to them necessarily.
Not necessarily. They're looking into this viewer. It gives this amazing 3D high-definition image, really immersive and magnified, maybe up to 10 times.
Wow.
And their hands are in these master controls. But here's the cool part. The movements are scaled down. So a surgeon moves their hand an inch.
Uh-huh.
The instrument inside the patient might only move a quarter inch or even less. And it filters out any natural hand tremor completely.
Okay, that's the precision element.
That's a huge part of it. Plus, foot pedals for controlling the camera, energy, that kind of thing.
Got it. Console. What else?
Then you have the patient side cart. This is the part right by the operating table. It has the actual robotic arm.
These ones that go inside the patient.
Yeah, through tiny incisions. And on the end of those arms are the instruments. They call them wristed instruments.
Wristed.
Yeah, because they have 7 degrees of freedom. Think about how your wrist moves up, down, side-to-side rotation. These can do all that and more. They can rotate 360 degrees.
Whoa. Better than a human wrist.
In terms of dexterity, range of motion, absolutely. It lets surgeons maneuver in ways that just aren't physically possible otherwise.
Okay, console, patient card. One more.
The vision cart. This holds all the processing stuff for the camera system. The camera itself is an endoscope, a thin tube with a light and camera that goes in through another small incision.
And that provides the 3D view the surgeon sees in the console.
Exactly. That magnified 3D view is critical, gives them depth perception, lets them see tissue planes, navigate safely.
Right. Okay. So that's the Da Vinci setup, more or less. But you mentioned it's the dominant player. Are there others now? Is the market changing?
Oh, absolutely. It's a really interesting space right now. Da Vinci, they built this whole ecosystem. But it's expensive. The machine itself is, what, $1.5 to $2.5 million?
Yeah.
Plus hefty annual maintenance, maybe 150 grand. And the instruments are proprietary, high margin, adds up to over $1,800 a procedure, sometimes more. Hospitals get locked in, high switching costs.
So, right for competition.
You bet. And we're seeing it. Medtronic has the Hugo system. It's modular. The arms are on separate carts. More flexible, potentially lower cost. It's getting traction outside the U.S. especially.
Interesting. Modular.
Then there's CMR Surgical Versius, also designed to be portable, smaller footprint, quicker setup, popular in Europe, India, Latin America. And Ascensus Surgical has the Senhance system. It's a bit different. It enhances laparoscopy with robotic features.
How so?
It adds things like haptic feedback. The surgeon can actually feel the tissue tension through the controls.
Oh, that's a big complaint about robotics, losing that tactile feel.
It is. So haptics are a big deal. Senhance also has eye-tracking camera control, and it can use existing laparoscopic tools, which is a cost advantage.
So the trend is what? More options, maybe lower costs, more flexibility?
Definitely. Moving away from just one big, expensive platform, hospitals want choices. But beyond the hardware, the really transformative thing coming, it's data.
Data. How does data fit into surgery?
Think about it. These robots, they capture everything. Video feeds, audio in the OR, every single movement, every system alert. It's a massive amount of data.
Okay, so what do you do with it?
AI. You apply artificial intelligence, machine learning to analyze it all. This is surgical data science.
Right.
The AI can figure out, say, the optimal amount of force to use when dissecting a certain type of tissue, or the most efficient way to perform a specific step.
And then?
And you feed that back, maybe as real-time guidance during an operation. Or use it for incredibly personalized training simulators for surgeons. It creates this continuous improvement loop.
Capture data, analyze it, provide feedback.
Exactly. The potential is to shift surgery from being primarily an individual craft, based on one surgeon's experience, to more of a collective data-driven science, reducing the variability between surgeons, standardizing best practices, and ultimately, hopefully, improving care for everyone.
That sounds potentially revolutionary. But what's it actually like for the surgeon using this day to day? Is it easy to learn?
The learning curve. That's a big topic. It's steep. There's no single number like, do X procedures and you're an expert.
Right.
But studies give clues. For something complex like a radical prostatectomy, removing the prostate for cancer, it might take 100, maybe even up to 300 cases to get really good, consistent results on key things like cancer recurrence.
Wow. 300 cases a lot.
It is. For other things like colorectal surgery, good training can maybe get you proficient in 25, 30 cases. Without that structured training, it might be over 70. And the whole team needs to learn, too. The nurses, the techs. That takes maybe 30 cases for everyone to click.
So it's a real investment in time and training, not just money.
A huge investment. But think about the surgeon's daily experience. Traditional surgery, open or even lap. You're standing for hours, often in awkward positions.
Back pain, neck pain. I hear surgeons talk about that all the time.
It's a major occupational hazard. Musculoskeletal issues are really common. But with the robot, the surgeon is sitting down at an ergonomically designed console, arm supported.
Ah, okay. More comfortable.
Way more comfortable. And because the machine filters tremor and scales movement, it's less physically taxing, less fatiguing, which isn't just about comfort.
Well,
No, a less fatigued surgeon is a more focused surgeon, especially during long, complex operations that directly impacts patient safety, better concentration, potentially fewer errors due to fatigue.
that makes perfect sense. But does this tech change the field of surgery? There's this whole debate, right? Art versus science.
Oh, yeah. That's been going on basically since the beginning. It's fascinating.
What are the sides?
Well, the art perspective really values traditional surgery as a craft. It emphasizes intuition, hands-on dexterity, that deep anatomical knowledge you get from, well, from literally having your hands inside the patient. There's a real fear of de-skilling, losing those fundamental tactile skills.
Okay, I get that. The touch, the feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then the science perspective says, look, the robot enhances capability. It gives you vision, precision, control that are just physically impossible for a human hand alone. It elevates the whole process.
So who's right? Is it one or the other?
I think that's the wrong way to frame it, honestly. It's not really versus, it's more like an evolution of surgical art.
How so?
Think of it like this. Maybe the art of open surgery is like, I don't know, athletic grace, fluid movements, physical skill under pressure.
Okay.
The art of robotic surgery is different. It's maybe more like being a fighter pilot or, a top-level gamer.
A gamer.
Seriously. It requires intense cognitive focus, incredible spatial reasoning, translating that 3D screen view into precise actions, and making critical decisions based on visual information, not touch. It's a different kind of skill.
So the art shifts from the hands to the mind, maybe.
I think that's a good way to put it. It redefines surgical excellence. Technology becomes this incredibly powerful extension of the surgeon's judgment and capability.
Okay, let's shift to the patient. What does all this mean for them? The outcomes, the costs.
Right. The bottom line for the patient, the outcome data is, well, it's nuanced. You have to be careful what you compare it to.
Okay.
The biggest benefits, less blood loss, shorter hospital stays, faster recovery, are usually seen when you compare robotic surgery to traditional open surgery. Big incisions, longer healing times.
Makes sense.
But compared to standard laparoscopy, minimally invasive surgery using cameras and long instruments, but without the robot, the advantages are often less dramatic. Sometimes similar outcomes, honestly. And data on long-term functional results, like, say, continence after prostate surgery, can be mixed or show no difference after a year or two.
And there's that learning curve factor again, right? Results are better at places that do a lot of these.
Crucial point. High-volume centers, experienced surgeons. That's where you consistently see the best results. Someone just starting out, the outcomes might not be as good initially.
Can you give some specific examples, like for common procedures?
Sure. Prostatectomy, RALP, robotic-assisted laparoscopic prostatectomy, compared to open. Less blood loss, shorter hospital stay, definitely. But like I said, functional outcomes like urinary control, sexual function, data is often equivalent at 24 months.
Okay. What about hysterectomy?
Similar story. Less blood loss, shorter stays than open. Compared to standard laparoscopic or even vaginal hysterectomy, maybe shorter stays in some cases, but often comparable outcomes overall.
Coronary bypass.
Heart surgery.
Yeah, robotic CABG. Compared to the traditional open chest approach, lower risk of wound infection, shorter time in the ICU and hospital, generally faster recovery. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, and colon surgery.
Colon resection, yeah. Studies often show less blood loss, shorter stays, and fewer cases needing to be converted to open surgery compared to standard laparoscopy. Importantly, long-term cancer outcomes seem comparable.
So benefits are definitely there, especially versus open, but it's not always a slam dunk compared to regular, minimally invasive.
That's a fair summary. Now, the cost. That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, you mentioned the machines are expensive.
Hugely. For the hospital, you've got that massive upfront cost, the $1.5 to $2.5 million.
Right.
Then the $150K plus a year for maintenance. And those disposable instruments adding nearly $2,000 per procedure.
So it costs the hospital a lot more per case.
Generally, yes. The argument from proponents is about downstream savings.
Meaning, okay, the surgery itself is more expensive, but if patients go home sooner, have fewer complications, get back to work faster, maybe that saves money overall for the healthcare system or the patient in the long run.
Does it? Does the data show that?
It's really mixed. And often the data isn't detailed enough. For many standard procedures where good laparoscopic options exist, those downstream savings often don't materialize enough to offset the higher upfront cost. So the cost-benefit calculation, it can be unfavorable in many common scenarios.
So Better outcomes sometimes, but definitely more expensive usually. How does this translate to, like, real patient experiences?
That's where it gets personal, right? You hear these amazing stories like Julie Moss, the woman who had a robotic hysterectomy.
Yeah.
She said she was home the same day and back swimming laps in 2 weeks. Incredible. Or Kimberly Hendrickson, same procedure, called it like a miracle, said she was vacuuming her house in a week.
Wow. That's life-changing recovery speed.
It really can be. But we also have to hear the other side. It's not always perfect. There are patients. One man, after a robotic prostatectomy, described having persistent rectal pain, ongoing incontinence, impotence, serious quality of life issues that made him really question his decision.
That's tough.
Very tough. And there are rare but serious complications from the machine itself. Mechanical failures. One case involved robotic arms malfunctioning, leading to multiple extra surgeries, a really long hospital stay. It underscores that it is complex technology and things can go wrong.
So incredible potential, but not without risks or downsides.
Exactly. A balanced view is essential.
Okay, thinking bigger picture now.
Yeah.
How does bringing in these expensive, complex systems affect the whole hospital?
It's a massive undertaking. It's not just buying the robot. You need specialized ORs, infrastructure upgrades, intensive training for surgeons, nurses, techs, the whole team.
The big commitment.
Huge. And it's also, well, it's a powerful marketing tool.
Yeah.
Hospitals compete for patients for top surgeons. Having the latest robotic system is seen as prestigious.
The keeping up with the Joneses effect.
Pretty much. Which creates pressure to acquire the tech, sometimes maybe even before the clinical need or cost effectiveness is fully proven for all applications. It definitely shapes hospital finances and resource allocation.
And what about globally? Is everyone getting access to this?
Not even close. That's a major issue. In 2020, something like over 70% of all robotic procedures happened in high-income countries, especially the U.S.
70%? Wow.
Yeah. In low- and middle-income countries, access is incredibly limited. And it's not just the purchase price, which is obviously a huge barrier.
What else?
Think about the infrastructure. Do they have reliable electricity? Do they have trained engineers to maintain these complex machines? And the cost of the disposable instruments is prohibitive, creating this dependency on supply chains that might not be reliable.
So it widens the gap in healthcare quality.
Absolutely. And this raises a really serious ethical point. If a technology can genuinely reduce pain, speed recovery, improve outcomes, and it's only available to people in rich countries, some argue that's a form of structural violence. The system itself prevents people from getting the care they need. It potentially violates basic human rights, like Article 25 of the UN Declaration on the Right to Medical Care.
That's a powerful critique. It's not just about cool tech. It's about equity.
Exactly. The ethical dimension is inseparable from the technology itself.
Okay, so looking forward then, where does this go next? What's on the horizon?
Well, what's fascinating here is how some of the original ideas are cycling back, but with new twists. Telesurgery, for instance.
The remote surgery idea.
Yeah, it's making a comeback. With better networks, 5G, the potential to connect expert surgeons with patients in remote areas, these medical deserts, is becoming more realistic. Still challenges like network lag, but people are working on it.
Okay, what else? Smaller robots.
Miniaturization, definitely. And even nanobots. Tiny robots that could go into places surgeons currently can't reach at all. Imagine reconnecting individual nerve fibers after an injury, or precisely mapping the edge of a tumor at a microscopic level.
That sounds like science fiction again.
It's closer than you might think. And then there's the really big one, autonomous surgery.
Robots doing surgery by themselves.
Well, progressing towards that, it's a spectrum. Right now, robots are enhancers. The next step might be performers for specific tasks, like the Star Robot Smart Tissue autonomous robot. It showed it could suture tissue, in some tests even better than human surgeons.
Wow.
But full autonomy, especially in complex, unpredictable situations involving soft tissues that move and change, that's a huge leap.
Right.
Technically very difficult. And the ethical hurdles, immense.
Like who's responsible if the robot makes a mistake?
Exactly. Accountability, liability. How do you get informed consent for that? These are massive questions we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah, those are deep. It also seems like there's a lot of hype around robotic surgery.
There absolutely is. That hype versus reality gap is a real challenge. Marketing often presents it as universally better, the best option for everyone.
But the evidence is more nuanced, as you said. Better than open, often comparable.
Right. And because hospitals have made these huge investments, there can be pressure, subtle or not, to use the robot to recoup costs. That can fuel marketing that maybe outpaces the solid evidence for all procedures. It makes truly informed patient decision-making harder.
And financial incentives.
Mm.
They can play a role, too.
They can. Hospitals need procedures to pay for the machine. Surgeons hired specifically for their robotic skills might feel pressure to use those skills. And relationships between surgeons or hospitals and the manufacturers, that's always an area needing transparency and ethical scrutiny. The AMA Code of Ethics is clear. Patient well-being comes first. Always.
One more big concern you mentioned earlier, de-skilling.
Yes, this is a really serious one for the future of surgery. If new surgeons train primarily on the robot, do they develop the same deep understanding of open surgery? Do they maintain their laparoscopic skills? Those skills are absolutely crucial.
Why crucial if the robot is so good?
Because things go wrong sometimes. You might encounter unexpected scar tissue, bleeding you can't control robotically, or the robot itself might malfunction. A surgeon must be able to safely convert to an open or laparoscopic procedure immediately if needed.
The backup plan.
It's not just a backup, it's fundamental surgical competence. There's this worry about the Google Maps effect. You rely on the GPS so much, you stop paying attention to the actual roads, you lose your innate sense of direction.
Like you that.
We all do. And studies in medicine, like with AI-assisted colonoscopy, have shown something similar. Doctors became over-reliant, less focused, maybe felt less personal responsibility when the AI was helping. Robotic surgery takes away that direct tactile feedback, that feel of the tissues. If you don't consciously work to maintain those other skills, they can atrophy.
So training programs need to teach robotics, but also actively keep teaching and reinforcing open and lap skills.
Critically important. It has to be both hand, not either.
Okay, so wrapping this up.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for you, our listener? We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From sci-fi dreams to these incredibly sophisticated machines changing operating rooms, the benefits are clear. Amazing precision, incredible vision, better dexterity for surgeons.
Which translates often to real patient benefits. Less pain, less blood loss, faster recovery, especially compared to open surgery.
And huge ergonomic advantages for surgeons, keeping them focused and healthier, which is good for everyone.
Definitely.
But we've also hit the challenges. The high costs, the fact that access isn't equal around the world, the potential for financial factors to creep into decisions. And this really important concern about de-skilling future surgeons.
It's a powerful technology, no doubt. But it requires very careful navigation.
So what's the final thought you want to leave us with?
I think this raises an important question, really. As we develop these incredibly powerful tools, things that were unimaginable just decades ago, how do we make absolutely sure that ethics lead the way? How do we ensure that patient safety, equitable access, and sound clinical judgment always guide how we use this technology? It's about balancing the amazing science of the machine with the irreplaceable art, the wisdom of human judgment.
Finding that balance.
Finding that balance and staying curious, asking questions. Because this field is moving so fast, there's always more to understand, more to consider.